The warship Enduring Flame floated silently in orbit above the broken moon of Drestar. Once the moon had been a stronghold of the Sarathi people, but now it was nothing more than cracked stone and drifting ash. The long war between humans and Sarathi had left scars across the stars. But for Captain Elias Trent, the scars inside his heart weighed heavier than any battlefield ruins. He walked slowly through the medical bay of the warship, his boots echoing against the steel floor. Soldiers nodded respectfully as he passed, some human, some Sarathi. Many still looked at him with confusion. Why would a human officer care so deeply for an alien? But Elias ignored their stares. His only focus was the room at the end of the corridor. Inside that room lay Commander Kale Rin, his oldest companion in war. The Sarathi warrior, once strong as iron and proud as fire, now struggled for every breath. His once bright scales were dulled, his tall frame reduced by sickness, yet his eyes, golden and sharp, still burned with dignity. Elias stopped by the bedside, swallowing the lump in his throat. "Kyle," he said softly, his voice rough. "You stubborn lizard. I told you you'd outlive me." Kale Rin gave a faint smile, the corner of his alien mouth curling upward. His voice came in a whisper, deep but weak. "And yet, Elias, here I am, fading before the human who always rushed headlong into danger." The two shared a silence heavy with years of battles fought side by side. They had survived ambushes, starship sieges, assassins in the dark. They had stood back to back on burning ground, protecting each other when no one else would. In those moments, the barrier between human and Sarathi had vanished. They had been brothers forged in war. Elias lowered his head. "I don't know how to fight this, Kale. I can't shoot it. Can't punch it. Can't outthink it. Feels wrong, seeing you like this." Kale Rin's clawed hand lifted with effort, resting on Elias's shoulder. "Then do not fight it, my brother. Accept it. As I have." Elias wanted to argue, but the words caught in his throat. His chest felt tight. For once in his life, the soldier had no weapon against fate. Kale Rin closed his eyes for a moment, gathering what little strength remained. When he spoke again, his voice carried weight, like a commander giving one final order. "There is something I must entrust to you." Elias straightened. "Anything. Name it, my wife," Kale Rin said simply. His golden eyes opened again, fixed on Elias. "Lady Solara, she cannot walk this path alone. In our tradition, when a warrior falls, his closest companion inherits his bond. It is not slavery nor ownership. It is protection, honor, and duty. She will not be abandoned. She will not be prey for politics or vultures. She will have you." Elias froze. His heart pounded. He had expected many things. A final request about their soldiers, maybe the hiding place of Sarathi treasures or a secret message for his people. "But this, Kale," Elias began carefully. "I'm human. Your people don't even trust us half the time. You think they'll accept me protecting your wife? They'll see it as insult. They will see it as law," Kale Rin whispered. "Our oath is older than war, older than hatred. It binds us stronger than blood. And you, Elias Trent, you are the only one I trust. The only one worthy of her safety." Elias clenched his fists. He wanted to refuse to argue. He had fought wars, commanded fleets, carried burdens that broke lesser men. But this was different. This was personal. A wife, a life, a promise he wasn't sure he could keep. "I don't know if I can be what she needs," Elias said quietly. "I'm a soldier, Kyle, not a husband, not a guardian of traditions I don't understand." Kale Rin's hand tightened weakly on his shoulder. "You are loyal. You are stubborn. You do not bend to fear. That is all she needs. That is all anyone needs." The room felt colder, the air heavy. Elias saw the truth in his friend's eyes. Kyle was dying. Nothing could stop it now. And his last request was not about himself. It was about the woman he loved and the friend he trusted. Elias bowed his head, his voice low but firm. "I'll protect her. I swear it. By my name, by my blood. She won't be alone." Kale Rin's eyes softened, relief washing over his features. "Then I can rest, knowing she is safe." His breath grew slower, weaker. "Elias, brother, you are the last gift I leave her." Moments later, the golden light in his eyes dimmed. The strong chest rose no more. Commander Kale Rin, warrior of the Sarathi, was gone. The funeral was held on the Sarathi homeworld under skies of violet and gold. Their rituals were filled with fire and song, echoing across the crystal plains. Elias stood among the Sarathi crowd, feeling every gaze upon him. Some eyes were filled with respect. Kale had spoken often of his human brother. Others were filled with suspicion, even hatred. To them, Elias was still an outsider. At the center of the ceremony stood Lady Solara. She was unlike any Sarathi Elias had seen. Tall and graceful, her skin shimmered with soft iridescent patterns that shifted with emotion. Her eyes, deep silver, held both sorrow and strength. Her garments were woven with threads of light, flowing like liquid stars around her frame. When she stepped forward to light the funeral pyre, the entire crowd fell silent. The fire rose high, golden flames devouring the body of Kael Rin, carrying his spirit to the ancestors. The Sarathi sang an old chant, voices rising like thunder. Elias did not sing. He only stood there, fists tight, jaw clenched, heart aching. He had lost a brother, and he could not show his grief the way the Sarathi did. His mourning was silent, carved deep inside. After the ceremony, as the crowd began to disperse, Solara approached him. Her movements were fluid, almost regal, yet her eyes carried the weight of loss. She studied him for a long moment before speaking. "You are the human Kael called brother," she said softly. Her voice was like wind over glass, melodic but steady. "And now, you are the one he left me with." Elias shifted uncomfortably. "I didn't ask for this, but I gave him my word. I'll see you're safe. That's a promise." Solara tilted her head, her expression unreadable. "In our custom, this is more than safety. It is companionship, bond, legacy." Her gaze pierced him. "Do you understand what you have inherited, human?" Elias met her eyes, refusing to look away. "I understand it's a duty, and I don't break my word." For the first time, something flickered in her silver eyes. Respect, perhaps curiosity. She gave a small nod. "Then we shall see if Kael's faith in you was not misplaced." She turned and walked away, her figure glowing faintly under the alien sun. Elias watched her go, feeling the weight of a promise heavy on his shoulders. He had faced armies, monsters, the endless dark of space. But this inheritance felt like the greatest battle yet. That night, as Elias lay awake in the Sarathi guest quarters, he stared at the ceiling and thought of Kael. The laughter they had shared, the victories, the scars. And his final words, "You are the last gift I leave her." Elias closed his eyes, whispering into the silence, "I hope I don't fail you, brother." Outside the window, the Sarathi stars burned bright, as if watching. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the viewport of the enduring flame. Captain Elias Trent sat silently in the command chair, his hands folded, watching the alien worlds drift past. For the first time in years, he had no battle to plan, no enemy to strike. Yet the weight of responsibility pressed down harder than any enemy he had ever faced. He was charged with protecting Lady Solara, not as a soldier would protect a prisoner, but as a guardian of a legacy. The journey to the Sarathi homeworld, Sithara Prime, would take several days, and Elias knew that every second could be a threat. Political enemies, jealous rivals, and even untrustworthy Sarathi civilians could attempt to harm Solara. He glanced at the passenger compartment where Solara sat. She was serene, almost untouchable, yet Elias knew better. Beauty and grace could hide sharp instincts, and she had survived a lifetime of political intrigue alongside Kael Rin. "Captain Trent," a voice said from the doorway. It was Lieutenant Mara Vey, a young human officer. "You're spending too much time staring at the stars. The crew says you're worrying yourself sick." Elias shook his head. "Not worrying, Mara, just thinking." Mara raised an eyebrow. "About the alien princess?" Elias' jaw tightened. "Lady Solara. And yes, about her. It's not simple." Mara nodded, sensing she could not push further. "Just remember, she's more capable than you think. Kael trusted you both for a reason." Elias gave a faint smile, but said nothing. Mara left, leaving him alone with his thoughts. His mind kept returning to the funeral and Kael's last words. "You are the last gift I leave her." What had seemed an honor now felt like a challenge that could break him. The next day, the warship descended toward Sithara Prime, a planet of glittering crystal cities, floating gardens, and skies painted in violet and gold. The surface was alive with energy. Sarathi warriors glided on air currents, their sleek bodies shining in sunlight, and their city walls sparkled like diamonds. Yet beneath the beauty, Elias sensed tension. Humans were tolerated here, not welcomed, and he was no ordinary human. As the ship landed, a crowd gathered, their eyes shifting between Elias and Solara. Some stared with suspicion, some with admiration. Solara's presence commanded respect. Even the children stepped back, awed by her height and shimmering skin. Elias, in contrast, felt the prick of alien eyes judging him, measuring his worth. He gritted his teeth. He could survive assassins, starship battles, and deadly ambushes, but alien politics was a battlefield he had never trained for. Solara moved gracefully beside him as they exited the ship. Her voice, calm but firm, broke the silence. "Captain Trent, you must understand, they will watch you. Every word, every glance. Do not falter. Do not let their suspicion cloud your mind." Elias nodded. "I understand. I'll follow your lead." Solara's gaze softened slightly. "No, you will lead as Kale intended. I will only follow if your actions are worthy." The words struck him. She trusted him, but only if he proved himself. He clenched his fists, determined to meet the challenge. Inside the central hall of Cythera Prime, Solara's advisors awaited. They were tall, adorned in ceremonial garb, faces carved with the sharp elegance of the Sirathi. Murmurs spread as Elias entered. Some recognized him from reports. Others whispered about his human audacity. A few openly frowned, clearly skeptical of a human guarding the widow of their fallen leader. Elias kept his posture firm. He was not Kale Rin, nor did he try to be. He only needed to survive their scrutiny while protecting Solara. He could already feel the subtle threads of politics weaving around them. Rival families, ambitious generals, and outsiders all eyeing an opportunity to exploit Solara for power. One of the elder advisors stepped forward, his voice smooth, almost ceremonial. "Lady Solara, this is your companion, the human who has pledged protection. How does he intend to honor our laws and traditions?" Solara did not answer immediately. She regarded Elias with steady silver eyes. "Captain Trent is loyal. He honors Kale Rin's memory. That is enough to begin." The elder snorted. "Loyalty is not enough. Actions must prove it. We will see if the human can endure what we ask of him." Elias held his ground. "I am no stranger to tests. I've survived wars that would break others. I'll survive yours." A faint murmur spread through the hall, some impressed, some offended. Elias could feel the tension thickening, but he refused to bow to fear. The next few days were a trial by fire. Solara led him through the customs and laws of her people. Each evening she brought him to her study, where she explained politics, alliances, and threats. Every conversation was a careful dance. One wrong word could insult a family or turn allies into enemies. Elias listened, asked questions, and slowly began to understand the delicate balance of Sirathi society. Yet it was not only lessons. Solara observed him with sharp curiosity. She tested his patience with pointed questions, asked him to navigate difficult decisions, and even mocked his human bluntness at times. Elias found himself laughing at her wit more than once, a rare warmth creeping into his chest. Slowly, trust began to form, not because Kale had ordered it, but because they were learning each other. Then came the first real test. An explosion shook the outskirts of the city. Fires ignited in a marketplace and screams echoed through the streets. Elias's instincts kicked in. He grabbed his sidearm and sprinted toward the chaos, Solara at his side. Citizens scattered as debris rained down. Human soldiers deployed to control the panic, but it was clear this was no accident. Someone had set a trap. "Ambush," Elias muttered. "Move." They reached a group of civilians trapped under fallen crystal beams. Elias lifted the heaviest beam himself, something the Sirathi could not have expected from a human. Solara assisted, directing civilians to safety with precise gestures and words. Her calm authority amazed Elias. Together they rescued the trapped citizens, neutralized minor threats, and prevented the situation from escalating further. Afterward, the elders and advisors arrived. Elias expected scorn for his brash actions, but instead they nodded. Some even whispered approvingly. His human intuition, his ability to act without overthinking, had saved lives in a way the Sirathi could not have predicted. Solara looked at him then, a faint smile on her lips. "You are different from what I expected. Kale was proud to trust you." Elias felt a small spark of pride. "I just do what needs to be done. Kale taught me that, but peace was fragile." That night a warning arrived, a letter sealed with the emblem of a rival Sirathi house. The words were simple, but the threat clear. Step aside, human, or you will fail and she will be taken. Elias read it aloud to Solara, his jaw tight. They think I can't handle this. Solara's eyes narrowed. They underestimate you because you are human. That is their mistake. Kale would have known it was coming. Elias looked at her. Then what do we do? She placed a hand on his arm. We survive. Together. They will test you again and again. But as long as you stand with me, they will not win. Elias felt the weight of her trust heavier than any weapon he had carried. And for the first time he realized that protecting Solara was not just a duty. It was a battle of wits, courage, and loyalty. One that required both human ingenuity and Sarathi insight. The next morning, Elias began training alongside the Sarathi warriors, learning their techniques while teaching them human strategies. At first they resisted, scoffing at his unpredictable movements and unorthodox tactics. But soon even the skeptics had to acknowledge his skill. His presence became a symbol, a human who could adapt, survive, and protect. Not because he had Sarathi blood, but because he had human determination. Solara watched all of this quietly, her eyes reflecting a mix of admiration and cautious hope. She had inherited a human as her protector, yet she found herself seeing him not as a burden but as an ally. Together, they could navigate the treacherous world of Sarathi politics, ward off enemies, and honor Kale's memory. As the sun set over the Crystal City, Elias stood beside Solara on the balcony of her palace. The winds carried scents of alien flowers and ozone. Below, the city glimmered like a sea of stars. You are doing well, Solara said softly. You survive where others would falter, Elias chuckled. And you make it easy. If anyone else tried to intimidate me, I'd probably run. Solara smiled faintly. Perhaps. But I do not intend to intimidate. I intend to guide. Elias glanced at her, his chest tightening. Kale's last gift had once seemed impossible to accept. But now, as he stood with Solara at his side, he understood that survival was not the only measure. Trust, loyalty, and courage, the human way, were equally powerful weapons. The city of Cythera Prime gleamed under the twin suns, its crystalline towers refracting light like diamonds. Yet beneath the beauty, Elias Trent could sense a storm brewing. Since his arrival, subtle glances, hushed whispers, and minor sabotage had hinted that not everyone welcomed a human protecting Lady Solara. The ambush in the marketplace had been only the beginning. Elias walked through the palace gardens, Solara beside him. The wind stirred the iridescent leaves, making them shimmer like living fire. For once, the two were alone. Elias took a deep breath. Do you ever get tired of watching every word, every move? He asked quietly. Solara's silver eyes met his. I do not complain. Vigilance is life for me. And for you, it seems, Elias chuckled, a low, rough sound. Vigilance is easy. Acting like you belong when everyone doubts you. That's the hard part, Solara smiled faintly. Then perhaps you are learning to survive in a world not built for humans. Elias's jaw tightened. I survive everywhere, Lady Solara. This world, this palace, it's different. But I can adapt. Her gaze softened. You have adapted already. Even among my people, they whisper about your courage. Even your mistakes have meaning. They show you think, you act, you endure. Elias looked down, uneasy at praise. I don't want praise. I want to keep you safe, that's all. That night, a messenger arrived. Unlike previous warnings, this one carried no threat, only an invitation to a formal meeting of the city council. The seal bore the mark of the Sarathi House of Draelth, a powerful political family known for its cunning and ambition. Elias frowned. This could be a trap, he muttered. Solara's hand rested lightly on his arm. It is a test. You must attend. Your actions there will show my people that a human is more than a body. He is a mind, a protector, a partner. Elias nodded, steeling himself. Then let's show them what humans can do. The council hall was vast, circular, and shimmering with light. Elders, generals, and nobles filled the chamber, their faces carved with sharp angles and hidden intentions. Whispers rippled through the crowd as Elias and Solara entered. Every eye seemed to measure, judge, and calculate his worth. An elder rose, his voice smooth and cold. Lady Solara, we welcome your guest. A human guardian is unusual. Perhaps you will speak on his behalf? Solara inclined her head slightly. Captain Trent has proven his loyalty through actions, not words. Yet he stands ready to answer any question and face any challenge, should my people require it." Murmurs ran through the council. Some were impressed, others skeptical. One young noble, clearly ambitious, leaned forward. "A human claims to understand our laws and traditions, yet he has not lived them. What proof exists that he will not betray Lady Solara for his own gain?" Elias's eyes narrowed. "I have fought alongside her husband, Commander Kale Rin. I have sworn to protect her. My life is the proof, and if you doubt that, I will show it with action, not words." The noble's lips tightened. The hall was silent. Solara studied Elias quietly, pride flickering in her eyes. After the meeting, whispers of dissent turned into action. That night, the palace experienced its first real sabotage. Explosions rocked the outer walls and alarms blared. Panic spread among the staff. Elias rushed to Solara's side. "Get to the secure chamber. I'll handle this." Solara nodded, her eyes steady despite the fear in the air. "Do not fail, human." Elias dashed through the corridors, following the smoke to the source. A group of masked Sarathi saboteurs attempted to breach the armory. With precise movements, Elias disarmed them, using both human technique and lessons he had learned from Sarathi warriors. The saboteurs were fast, but he was faster. Yet as he subdued the last attacker, a chilling realization struck him. These saboteurs were not random criminals. They had insider knowledge. They knew the palace layout, the security protocols, and the guard rotations. This was no simple plot. It was betrayal from within. He returned to Solara, who had managed to calm the palace staff and civilians in the secure chamber. "They came close," Elias said grimly. "Someone within your court betrayed us." Solara's eyes darkened. "I feared this. The House of Draelth has long coveted influence over the throne. They would see me as a pawn, or an obstacle." Elias clenched his fists. "Then we'll stop them. But first I need to know who I can trust." "Names, secrets, everything," Solara nodded. "We will uncover them together." "You are no ordinary human, Elias. Kale saw something in you, and now, so do I." For the first time, Elias felt the stirrings of something stronger than duty, a bond of trust forming between them. Not forced, not inherited, but earned. The investigation led them through corridors of intrigue, hidden passages, and secret meetings in the dead of night. Elias relied on both human ingenuity and Solara's insider knowledge. They discovered coded messages, disguised threats, and subtle manipulations meant to pit them against allies. The deeper they dug, the more dangerous it became. One night, Elias was ambushed near the palace gardens by two masked assassins. He fought them off, but barely. His body bore bruises and cuts, and he realized the traitors had grown bolder. Solara found him afterwards, tending to his wounds. Her hands were gentle but precise, almost medical. "You should not have fought them alone," she said softly. "I couldn't wait," Elias replied, wincing. "They might have killed you." She looked at him, her silver eyes unwavering. "You risk yourself for me, and yet—" "I see your strength, not in your arms, but in your mind and heart. You are human. You endure, that is remarkable." Elias swallowed, feeling a strange warmth. "I only do what Kale would have done. Only what you deserve." For a long moment, they simply looked at each other. No words, just understanding. And in that quiet, Elias felt the weight of his promise, the last gift Kale had entrusted him with. And the bond between them grow stronger. But the traitors did not stop. Rumors spread that a faction of Sarathi generals plotted to frame Elias for treachery, claiming he sought to claim Solara for himself. The city's council grew restless, and whispers of war began to stir. Elias knew he had to act fast. Using Kyle's final archives, a secret collection of battle strategies and political intelligence, he began piecing together the true plot. He discovered coded correspondences between rival nobles and mercenaries, plans to manipulate Solara, and even false reports designed to make him look guilty. Armed with knowledge, Elias and Solara confronted the conspirators during a council meeting. The chamber was tense, every noble watching, waiting for a misstep. Elias stepped forward, his voice steady and clear. "These documents prove the plot. Humans do not lie when we speak truth. I stand not for myself, but for Lady Solara, her people, and the honor of her late husband. Those who seek to betray her will answer for their crimes." A hush fell over the room. The conspirators fumed, unable to counter his proof. Some tried to deny it, but the evidence was irrefutable. Solara stood beside Elias, her presence commanding attention. I, Lady Solara, recognize Captain Trent's loyalty. He has proven himself in actions, in courage, and in honor. Those who oppose him oppose me. The chamber erupted into murmurs. Shock, awe, and reluctant respect swept through the council. Elias realized that human courage, clarity of action, and trust could pierce even the most entrenched alien intrigue. That evening, after the council adjourned, Elias and Solara walked through the palace gardens. The night sky shimmered with twin moons casting soft light on the crystal paths. "You have survived your first real test," Solara said quietly. "Not with weapons, but with mind, heart, and loyalty. Kale would be proud." Elias shook his head. "I'm still just a human. I made mistakes. I almost got us killed." Solara smiled faintly. "You acted when others hesitated. You risked yourself for me. That is strength, human. That is what matters." For the first time, Elias felt not just duty but pride. Pride in himself, pride in the trust Solara had placed in him, and pride in the bond they were forming. He understood something Kale had known all along. The measure of a protector is not skill alone, but heart. As they walked back to the palace, the winds carried the scent of alien blossoms. The stars above seemed brighter than ever. The shadows of betrayal had been revealed, but the human spirit had prevailed. And Elias knew, deep in his heart, that the challenges ahead would be harder, but he was ready because he was human, and humans endured. The first light of Cythera Prime's twin suns cut across the crystal city, casting long golden reflections on the palace towers. Despite the calm morning, Elias Trent could feel the tension in every corner of the city. The traitors had been revealed, but their allies still lingered in the shadows. The House of Draelth, humiliated yet unbroken, now prepared to strike openly. Elias stood beside Lady Solara on the palace balcony, scanning the horizon. Her silver eyes were sharp, filled with resolve. She had grown stronger since arriving on the planet, her confidence shining alongside her natural grace. Elias had seen her command soldiers, make life and death decisions, and even face her people without faltering. But today, she would face a threat unlike any before. A war that could engulf the city and destroy everything Kale Rin had built. "They will attack," Elias said quietly. "The house won't forgive their defeat. They'll use everything they have." Solara nodded. "I know, that is why we must act first. Gather allies, secure loyal forces, and strike where they least expect." Elias clenched his fists. "Then we fight. Humans don't back down from impossible odds, and neither do I." The city quickly transformed into a fortress. Soldiers, both Sarathi and human, trained under Elias' guidance, learning to combine tactics from both worlds. Human ingenuity met Sarathi discipline in a perfect, if tense, balance. Barricades were raised, defenses strengthened, and communication lines secured. Solara watched closely, issuing commands, her voice calm but authoritative. Elias admired her control. She was more than a princess. She was a strategist, a leader, a symbol of resilience. And together they became a force the Draelth conspirators had not anticipated. The first strike came at dusk. Explosions rocked the northern districts of the city, sending shards of crystal into the sky. Fires erupted along the streets and alarm sirens blared across Cythera Prime. Civilians ran for safety, guided by loyal guards and coordinated human intervention. Elias and Solara moved to the front lines. Elias wielded a modified energy rifle with precision, cutting down attackers while deflecting traps and disabling explosives. Solara led a squad of elite Sarathi warriors, her movements fluid and deadly, her commands concise and effective. Despite the chaos, Elias noticed patterns in the enemy attack, repetitive maneuvers, predictable flanks. Using Kale Rin's strategic archives, he anticipated the Draelth forces' next moves, countering them with unconventional tactics. They fought through the night, a combination of human improvisation and Sarathi tradition, slowly turning the tide. At one point, Elias faced a squadron of elite Draelth assassins attempting to reach Solara's chamber. He ducked behind a shattered wall, calculating his next move. The human brain, unpredictable and adaptive, allowed him to exploit weaknesses the Sarathi would have missed. He set traps, drew the enemies into narrow corridors, and used the environment to his advantage. Solara, observing from above, nodded silently. "He is human," she whispered. "And humans endure." The words reminded Elias of Kale's faith, and he pushed forward, striking with precision and courage. One by one, the assassins fell. Yet the victory came at a cost. His armor was scorched, his body battered, and for a moment, he felt the strain of mortality pressing against him. In the city's central square, the leaders of the Draelth faction had gathered, attempting to rally a final assault. Elias and Solara approached together, their presence commanding. The sight of a human standing beside the Sarathi princess sent shockwaves through the enemy ranks. "You underestimate humans," Elias called out, his voice echoing across the square. "We adapt, we endure, and we fight for what we love." Solara raised her staff high, the crystal at its tip glowing with energy. "And you underestimate the bond between human and Sarathi. Those who oppose us will fall." The Draelth leaders faltered. Their forces wavered, uncertainty creeping in. Elias seized the moment. Using human ingenuity, he led a daring flanking maneuver through the narrow alleys, cutting off reinforcements and turning the enemy's formation against itself. Solara, with unmatched grace, commanded the loyal Sarathi warriors, using energy barriers and precise strikes to neutralize remaining threats. Together they became a whirlwind of strategy and skill, impossible to predict or counter. But victory was not without sacrifice. During the final push, Elias saw a young Sarathi soldier about to be struck by a mercenary. Without hesitation, he leapt forward, taking the blow himself. Pain exploded through his shoulder, but he managed to push the soldier to safety. Blood stained his uniform, yet he refused to fall. Solara rushed to his side, her hands glowing with healing energy. "You should not have risked yourself," she exclaimed, her silver eyes flashing with concern. Elias smiled faintly, wincing. "I told you, humans endure, and I endure for those I protect." The moment solidified something deeper than trust. Solara no longer saw him as a guardian assigned by tradition. She saw him as an equal, a partner in battle and in life. By dawn, the battle was over. The Draelth forces had been routed, their leaders captured or fleeing. The city bore scars, burned streets, shattered walls, and wounded soldiers, but it had survived. The human and Sarathi alliance had proven stronger than treachery and ambition. Solara stood beside Elias on the balcony once more, surveying the aftermath. "You have done more than survive," she said softly. "You have inspired. You have led. Kale would be proud." Elias shook his head, looking out over the city. "I did what needed to be done. And you are incredible, a true leader. Without you, none of this would have been possible." Solara placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch warm and firm. "We did this together, and now the people of Cythera will see that humans are not just outsiders. We will build a new era, side by side." Elias felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Battles had come and gone, yet this victory mattered more than any he had fought before. It was not just about strategy or strength, it was about trust, loyalty, and courage. Humanity, with all its flaws and unpredictability, had stood tall beside an alien civilization and made a difference. The city began to heal. Citizens repaired buildings, tended to the wounded, and celebrated survival. For the first time in years, Cythera Prime felt like a home rather than a battlefield. Elias and Solara spent long hours planning the future. Together they strengthened the alliance between humans and Sarathi, ensuring that political rivals could not easily rise again. Solara taught Elias the nuances of governance, diplomacy, and Sarathi law, while Elias shared human strategies and ideas for innovation. One evening, as the sun set, painting the sky in violet and gold, Solara looked at Elias. "Do you see now why Kale trusted you?" she asked quietly. Elias smiled faintly. "I see why he believed in humans, and I see why he left you in my care." Her gaze softened, and for a moment the weight of tradition, duty, and loss seemed to lift. They had survived betrayal, war, and political scheming. Together they had emerged stronger. And Elias knew that the final part of his journey was approaching. Not a battle of weapons, but a journey of choice, trust, and the forging of a new legacy. For Kale's last gift was no longer a burden. It was a bond, a partnership, and a testament to the strength of humanity. The city of Cythera Prime was quiet now. The echoes of war had faded, leaving behind a city bruised but alive. Crystal towers reflected the soft light of the twin suns, their brilliance tempered by cracks and scars from the recent battles. But amid the damage there was hope. The citizens were rebuilding not just structures but trust, courage, and the bonds that had held them together. Captain Elias Trent walked beside Lady Solara through the central plaza, where children played cautiously among repaired fountains and gardens. Solara's presence drew respectful glances, her silver eyes shining with calm authority. Elias, scarred and bruised from the battle, moved with quiet confidence. Every step he took reminded him that humans could endure, adapt, and rise even in alien worlds. "You have changed this city," Solara said softly, her gaze on the bustling streets. "Not through power alone, but through courage, wisdom, and heart." Elias shrugged, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "I only did what Kale would have expected me to do, and what you allowed me to do alongside you." Solara looked at him, her expression thoughtful. "And in doing so, you have earned the respect of my people, not as a human outsider, but as a partner, a protector, a friend, perhaps more." Elias felt the weight of her words, a warmth that had nothing to do with the suns above. For months he had carried the burden of Kale's last gift, the responsibility of protecting Solara, surviving betrayal, and leading both humans and Sarathi to safety. Now, it seemed, the burden had transformed into something else, a shared future. The council convened once more, this time not in secrecy or under tension, but in unity. Representatives from loyal Sarathi families gathered alongside human officers and soldiers. The defeated House of Draelth had been exiled, their leaders imprisoned, and their ambitions dismantled. The city had been tested, and humanity had proven itself capable of loyalty, courage, and honor. Elias presented Kale Rin's archives to the council, demonstrating strategies, records, and evidence of the conspiracies. "This is not just history," he said, his voice steady. "It is proof of what can happen when trust is broken, and what can be achieved when humans and Sarathi work together. We survived because we did not betray one another, and we endured because we trusted each other." The council murmured in approval. Solara stepped forward, her voice resonant with authority. "Captain Trent has shown the strength of humans. But more than that, he has shown the power of loyalty, partnership, and courage. My people must see that a human is not merely an outsider. He is a friend, an ally, and a protector." Whispers of respect rippled through the chamber. For the first time, humans were not viewed with suspicion. They were seen as equals, capable of honor, leadership, and even love. As the days passed, the city began to heal. Families rebuilt homes, artisans repaired damaged buildings, and soldiers trained side by side, human and Sarathi alike. Elias and Solara worked tirelessly, not as a human and an alien princess, but as partners, planning the future of Sithara Prime together. Solara introduced Elias to her traditions fully, sharing rituals, history, and wisdom. Elias, in turn, shared human ideas, innovations, strategies, and philosophies that challenged the Sarathi to think differently. Slowly, a new culture began to emerge, one that blended human adaptability with Sarathi discipline. One evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, Elias and Solara stood on the balcony of her palace. The city sparkled below, streets illuminated with lanterns and light, a celebration of survival and renewal. "You know," Elias said quietly, "I never thought I'd see this day, not just surviving but thriving, here among your people." Solara turned to him, her silver eyes reflecting the fading suns. "Neither did I. I feared the worst when I first arrived. When Kale left me in your care, I did not know if a human could truly protect me. But you have proven more than protection. You have proven partnership, loyalty, courage, and now I trust you." Elias felt a lump in his throat. "I don't do this for trust. I do it because it's right. Because Kale believed in me, because I care." Solara stepped closer, her hand brushing his. "And I care as well. Not because of duty, not because of inheritance, but because of choice. You have earned a place by my side." For a long moment, they simply looked at each other. Words were unnecessary. Kale's last gift had brought them together, but it was their shared trials, courage, and understanding that had forged the bond now. The citizens of Sithara Prime soon began to recognize the new partnership. Humans were no longer outsiders, merely tolerated for necessity. They were allies, friends, and even heroes. Soldiers spoke of Elias's bravery, citizens admired his ingenuity, and the Sarathi learned to respect the unpredictable, adaptable human way of thinking. Solara, too, changed in the eyes of her people. She was no longer just the widow of Kale Rin. She was a leader, a strategist, and now a partner to a human whose courage matched her own. Together they became symbols of hope, trust, and unity, a living testament that different species could achieve harmony when hearts and minds aligned. Yet even as peace settled over the city, new challenges arose. Rumors of distant conflicts reached Sci-Fi Prime. Other factions, jealous or fearful of the new alliance, began to plot. Elias knew that the lessons of the past months would be needed again, but this time he did not feel fear. He had learned that humans endure, adapt, and rise when faced with impossible odds. And he had Solara by his side, not because of duty, but because of trust and choice. One day, while walking through the palace gardens, Solara turned to him with a soft smile. "Elias, what will you do now? Will you remain here with my people?" Elias considered the question. He had spent his life traveling, fighting, and surviving. But now he felt a sense of belonging he had never known. "I think I found a place where I am needed, where I can make a difference. And perhaps a place where I belong." Solara's smile widened. "Then we shall face the future together, not as guardian in charge, not as human and alien, but as partners, as equals, as allies." Elias reached for her hand. "Agreed, together." The days turned into weeks, and the city of Sci-Fi Prime thrived under the new alliance. Humans and Sarathi worked side by side in governance, defense, and innovation. The lessons of war had created bonds that would not easily break. Children learned of Kael'Rin's legacy, of Elias's courage, and of Solara's wisdom. Stories of endurance, loyalty, and bravery spread across the stars, reminding all that humanity could rise above expectation. Solara and Elias continued to lead, their bond growing stronger with each challenge. They faced diplomatic missions, threats from afar, and the delicate task of blending two cultures. Yet every difficulty reminded them of what they had overcome: the betrayal, the battles, and the choices that had forged their partnership. One evening, as the twin suns set, Elias stood on the balcony, looking at the horizon. Solara joined him, her hand resting lightly on his arm. "Do you think Kael would approve?" Elias asked quietly. Solara's silver eyes met his, warm and steady. "He would. He trusted you with his life, with me, and you have proven worthy. More than worthy, you have honored his memory by becoming what he believed you could be, strong, loyal, and courageous, and now, our people will see the legacy we create together." Elias nodded, feeling a weight lift from his shoulders. Kael's last gift was no longer a burden. It had become a bond, a shared path forward, a testament to the strength of humanity and the power of trust and choice. Together, they watched the twin suns dip below the horizon, the city of Sci-Fi Prime glowing beneath them. A new era had begun, one of peace, unity, and the enduring spirit of humanity. And in that moment, Elias knew that no matter the trials ahead, humans could rise, endure, and shine, alongside their allies, beside the ones they cared for, and against any odds. The legacy of Kael'Rin, the courage of a human, and the wisdom of an alien leader had created something far greater than any one life could achieve. They had forged a new legacy. Together,